What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of our Showdown Breakdown here. We have Sunday Night Showdown. For those of you that are, people who are coming back to listen, we appreciate it. Hitting that like button. If you are not a subscriber, do that. But let's get right into the slate. I will, as always, really try to get to the point here. Look at where I want to build. Probably three of my favorite cash plays, two of my favorite values, and my favorite fade. We have Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers have been on a lot of these showdown slates lately, and they've played a lot of games in a short amount of time. And we kind of saw that happen with playing against Washington, right? And they lost that game. So we do get James Conner back, which I think will be significant to a point. It might be kind of a slate decider for you. So Bills are actually 2-point favorites here, and let's get into the slate. So this is in Buffalo. Let's start with the favored team and the home team here, Josh Allen. I think, the matchup is obviously really difficult, right? Like it's the Steelers defense is phenomenal. Saying that, I don't see a case in which you can fade Josh Allen here. Not only are they going to be willing to throw the ball, and this game might get slowed down by the Steelers a little bit, but I just think in cash is really tough to fade someone like Allen. So he'll be popular. Stephon Diggs, just is insanely consistent. Even the target share, like not only his production, but so I mean, let's just go to the 16 target game, 8 targets, 11 targets, 9 targets, 12 targets, 10, 9, 10, and he's catching a high rate of these targets. Again, this is a more difficult matchup for him. So I can definitely see, if you're more on Pitt, then you might fade someone like Diggs. Beasley to me, 11 targets last game, 13, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. It seems like you're really chasing some game logs here. I mean, sure, he can, if they're going to get down and they're going to be chucking it a lot, he's going to be in the slot. But I prefer the Pittsburgh receivers over Beasley. I just think you're overpaying here for Beasley, even though he's been a freak 2 of the games. Then we have the running back situation. You have Singletary here, who actually had 18 carries last game, caught 3 balls. Seemed like more of the lead back. So for 5,800, if you think he's going to get 15 to 18 carries again, 5,800 is a steal. And then you have Zach Moss at 4,800, who only saw 3 carries last week. So I'd say he's definitely GPP only. And then kind of in here, since John Brown has been out, Gabriel Davis has been the other beneficiary, who's been really good as well. It's only caught 3 balls the last 2 games, but a touchdown in each game and a lot of yards, catching a lot of long throws through the air. So I really like Davis for 5,000. I think he's viable. I think Singletary is definitely viable at 5,800. Moss is probably a pass for me. Dawson Knox is okay as well. I think he would fall more into more upside than a kicker, but the kicker is probably safer. Like Tyler Bass here, he's had double digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 6 games. So I think, the upside of that kicker right there, it could be enough to still just take the savings and go to Bass over somebody like Knox. Bills D, probably pass for me. McKenzie, 2 targets last game. 1,800, he might be the best value on the slate. We'll get on the Pitt side. There's not a lot of great value here. So I think you might end up looking at somebody like McKenzie. I don't even think Croft has been, he hasn't even playing. So it's probably Bass or McKenzie is my favorite values here. Obviously, Bill's defense is alive, but 3,400 is quite a bit. Okay, so Big Ben, obviously he's getting a great matchup here. And quarterbacks are always going to be popular. So I totally get going to Roethlisberger. I think the case that you can make to fade Roethlisberger is that, say you take 2 of his receivers. So say you take Deontay Johnson and Smith-Schuster. They're throwing the ball so short so often that the number of receptions by those guys can easily get up to those double digits. Now, when that situation goes wrong is then when he throws a 50-yard touchdown to James Washington, and you don't have him at 2,600, which is what happened last week to me. I felt like I had the pool. I had Claypool. I had Deontay Johnson. I didn't have Smith Schuster. I had Ebron. So I thought the chances of me missing a passing touchdown are really low. And I faded Roethlisberger. Well, then, like I said, the Washington touchdown really can make that strategy go out the window pretty quick. But I love, my favorite play for Pittsburgh is Deontay Johnson. Just like the targets, 12, 13, 16. He's catching all these short passes. They're willing to throw it behind the line of scrimmage, let him run in the red zone. They're, willing to throw slants and bubble screens and things like that for him. So, him and Allen are my two favorite cash plays. Roethlisberger, I likely will play just because I think Smith Schuster is too cheap. Ebron is nicely priced. I think James Conner, though, is really like where you might make a decision. This might be a slate decider because I don't think you can't fit them all in, but 8,000 is really cheap for somebody in his type of role if he's going to be getting back to this kind of production, this 20 carries, 15 carries, 2 or 3 catches through the air. Then he had a couple games where he wasn't that great against Dallas and against Cincinnati. And then, he had the game against Jacksonville where he, did okay. And he's not coming off like an injury. It's just off of the COVID list. So I think, like taking a second receiver for Pittsburgh or taking Connor is going to make a big difference on the slate. So, or Ebron. Boswell should be back, so I like him. He's in play. Then I think, 2,600 James Washington, I think we just know his upside. And I think, he along with McKenzie are probably the two best values on the slate. Not as like comfortable as values as we've like seen on other slates, like, I don't know, Washington on the Miami slate today, or somebody like Duke Johnson at 1.6K for the Houston slate. But I think, you can definitely get there. A lot of people continue to kind of punt with like Vance McDonald. I mean, he hasn't, he plays, but he hasn't even caught a ball since week 9. So I don't know, not for me. This will be the game he trolls me with a touchdown or something like that. I think McLeod has been getting, some, when they go empty, he's the one that gets on the field, I think. So, otherwise it's Ebron as like the 4th receiver. So again, all right, so let's look at this slate as a whole. I'm just going to throw Deontay Johnson as my captain. I do really like him. And let's just say you go both quarterbacks. Okay. At this point, this is where I'm talking about. If you go Diggs, okay, you're really handcuffing yourself unless you go cheaper at captain. If you go Diggs, you can't even get both of the guys that I would even consider playable is McKenzie and Washington. Okay. Now let's say you want Diggs and you're still going to play Deontay Johnson, but let's say you go like Ebron captain. Okay. Oh, whoops, I got to get rid of somebody here. Let's just say I don't go Roethlisberger. Let's say I go that route that I talked about before, where you like just try to cover the receivers, but don't play Roethlisberger. Okay, so here, now if you go and play Isaiah McKenzie, where is he at? Right here, McKenzie, you can actually still play Smith Schuster. And this is with an Ebron cap, which is a little bit riskier, but I mean, he loves to throw to him. So I mean, just these situations where you have to decide. I think for sure in cash, you lock in Deontay Johnson. You have to play Allen, I think. Then you decide Diggs or Roethlisberger, and then who you're going to be captaining kind of decides the rest of that. There's not, if you want to be, I don't know, if you want to be really conservative, and let's just say you go Allen, Roethlisberger, and Smith Schuster, the cheapest receiver, and then you go both kickers, you can get back into the range. You can get back to Ebron. So, I mean, like that's viable too. I think you want 2 pass catchers for Pittsburgh. And then if you want Roethlisberger or Diggs, I think that kind of can, make the most of your slate, or Connor too. Connor's obviously viable as well. So the slate, I don't think we're going to just see some chalk build, but I do think there's 2 clear values in McKenzie and Washington. I think the fade for me is Beasley. I'm just probably not going to play him. I think I'd rather play Ebron, Smith Schuster over him, and they're cheaper. So, and then fade Zach Moss. potentially play Singletary or Gabriel Davis in that mid range, and then see how your builds fit from there. All right. Thanks a lot for listening to another edition of our Fantasy Sports Insight Showdown here at FSI. So good luck tonight.